Business Now. Delighted to say Stephen Carroll is back with us here on set. We're going to start with some good news, aren't you, for Samsung, Stephen?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's good news that looks actually like bad news in the face of it, but I promise that there is some good part of it. The electronics giant is forecasting a 31% fall in its operating profits for the period between January and March compared to last year. But that's actually a smaller drop than had been expected, and a sign that Samsung's fortunes might be taking a turn for the better. South Korean firms been under pressure both from rival Apple and from low-cost smartphone makers like China's Huawei. In these preliminary results, Samsung says demand for mobile chips and an improvement in its smartphone business helped stem those falling profits. We'll get its full quarterly results later this month, but it's already expecting profits of more than $5.4 billion, so not too shabby at all.
I know you've missed this over the last week or so, Stephen, so take us through the markets.
Well, there's an awful lot of excitement today about one company, and that company is the Dutch parcel delivery service TNT. Shares in the company are up over 31% after an announcement that it was being sold to FedEx, more than €4 billion. More on that in a moment. Oil and gas commodities generally, oil, gas and commodities shares, I should say, generally across Europe doing well. That's helping things on all of the European markets. London FTSE 100 there up 0.7%. Over on the Asian markets, no great movement in Samsung shares after that news from the companies. The Kospi is pretty flat in trading there. The Nikkei and Shanghai Composite seeing some gains, but Hong Kong is closed today in trading. And a quick eye too on the oil markets. We saw a 5% bounce in Brent crude yesterday as a result of that news that if Iranian oil is allowed onto the markets, it won't happen until at least next year, but we can see oil coming slightly back down off that peak.
West Africa next. Trade finally resuming on the borders of countries hit by Ebola.
Yes, Sierra Leone and Liberia had both closed their borders at the height of the Ebola outbreak last year, but as the number of new cases has dropped dramatically, border crossings have reopened, allowing trade to resume. It's a welcome relief for both countries' economies, as Will Hildebrandt now explains.
Merchants pack their cars full with goods. The market is busy at Bow Waterside, a small town in western Liberia. That's because the border with neighboring Sierra Leone has been reopened, a chance to resume cross-border trade.
But I affected my business because my money even went down. Because coming from Nassau was very expensive. Coming from Monrovia to the border, it was very expensive.
Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea were worst hit by the Ebola outbreak. All three had closed their borders, hoping to stop the spread of the deadly disease. That resulted in prices skyrocketing in Liberia as commodities became increasingly hard to find. And the closed borders meant thousands of Liberians were suddenly unable to sell their goods and lost their sole means of income. Liberia had strong growth before the epidemic, more than 9% each year since 2005. But this year it's forecast to grow just 3%, less than half the pre-Ebola forecast. That translates to a loss of $200 million. The country counts on imports for 90% of its goods, but now there's a sense of relief as the border reopens and hope that Liberia is on the road to recovery.
Some of the day's other top business stories for you next. And as we were saying, in the markets, the parcel delivery service FedEx is to buy its Dutch rival TNT Express for €4.4 billion. The two firms say they've reached conditional agreement on the deal. They hope to be able to overcome any competition issues the merger would create. EU regulators had blocked a takeover offer from UPS in 2013. And the French media group Vivendi has confirmed it's made a €250 million offer for Dailymotion. The video website was also the subject of a bid from Hong Kong's PCCW recently, where the company withdrew its offer because of hostility from the French government. Dailymotion is owned by the part state-owned French telecoms group Orange.
And finally, Starbucks. They're going even further to help their workers through college, aren't they?
Yeah, the coffee chain is expanding its programme to pay for online degrees for its staff. Now, it had previously been announced that Starbucks would cover 2 years of tuition at Arizona State University as opposed to... so now they're saying they're going to extend that to 4 years. It's going to cover the whole of the degree. This is after some controversy about this scheme. Only 2,000 of the company's 140,000 workers in the US had signed up to it, but it does come as many US companies are taking steps to improve the conditions for their lowest paid workers. We've seen steps from McDonald's and Walmart taken recently as well. This is just another one being made by Starbucks.
Makes me smell the coffee as well, Stephen, with business.